My gosh, it's been a while since I've had to reach that far across the keyboard to make the overlay say best of 7. But that's right, folks. It is going to be precisely that, a best of 7 today. 2 of them, in fact, as we are in the semifinals of the TING Open. I'm Rifkin, casting with Zombie Grub. Spawning in the top left side of Prion Terraces to kick off our day. It's going to be none other than the blue Terran, GuMiho.
In the bottom right, as the yellow Zerg, he is Jennair's Rogue.
Alright, so we need to explain something before we talk about the sponsors or the players or anything like that. And that's the prize pool breakdown, as well as the date for the finals. Now, right now, the finals is set for tomorrow. We're playing that one best of 9 and the show match of me versus the sponsors shortly after. However, Rogue has Pro League conflicts, so we could just be like, well, Rogue, too bad, so sad, see you later, but we're not like that. We want to help and accommodate players, and this whole tournament has been scheduled and based around player scheduling. So, we are going to be delaying the finals until Wednesday if Rogue wins this best of 7. However, if GuMiho wins this best of 7, he has no conflicts, and we will be doing the finals on Monday as planned. So, it's definitely going to affect when those finals happen, whoever wins this best of 7. There's also that prize pool difference. Just finished mentioning that before we hop into the game. At this point, these players today, everyone who's playing, competing today, has already won $400. That's like the least they can walk away this tournament with. However, second place is worth $1,300. And that's, like, if you win today but lose tomorrow, that's a difference of $900. So it's obviously the first place prize everyone's going to shoot for, that $2,500 first grand finish, plus the trophy. Let's not forget about the trophy. But there's a lot of money on the line at this point. This escalated quickly.
Yes, it did. Huh.
Well, got a new sub and a resub, by the way. Rage Kitty, the 2-month resub, and Mole SG, brand new sub hype. Thank you guys for kicking off our cast, as nobody here's doing anything too cheeky.
Yeah, no, nothing's really going on. Of course, it is a best of 7, so there was no vetoes that they had to. They got the opportunity to use, actually. So GuMiho, I mean, he might have vetoed Detox, he might have vetoed Prion. I think that's like 2 of the common ones for Terran. But unfortunately, well, first of all, Rogue got to go first, so that's why we're on Prion. And
Coin flip hype.
Detox actually is not last; it is 5th, I believe.
So no, not quite guaranteed.
Not quite guaranteed, but it's a good chance.
Yeah. The nice thing about best of 5s that we learned was it does create that comeback potential that's not otherwise available. In fact, if you look at a lot of the scores for the TING Open in any of the group stages, there's a lot of series that would have actually gone completely different directions if it was a best of 3 instead of a best of 5. A best of 7 has that same dynamic. A player who may have otherwise lost a best of 5 might just be able to bring it back in that last couple games to win a best of 7. So it's, again, this is like a $900 show match, essentially, but also it's going to have that dynamic of possibly being more than just 4 games. Like, I truly do not believe either series today will go 4-0.
I certainly hope not. I feel like if it goes 4-0, it's because someone was extremely tired or extremely off. Like, they wouldn't be playing their best games or even very good games if they didn't win at least one game. This one, and then, of course, next one, Mana versus Snoots, all included in that. We do have Rogue going for a 2-base Spire.
It's not surprising. This is Rogue. He's been doing this a lot this tournament.
What is going to be important, though, for GuMiho to scout, because he saw the lair and he's probably figuring that it's going to be a Spire, is whether or not he transfers out of it. Now, it's Prion Terraces, so I really think he will transfer out back into Roaches.
It's interesting. Cyclone.
Yeah, so early, I guess. I mean, we've seen this like last desperate gambit to try and get something anti-air if you are not prepared for a Mutalisk, a fast Spire, basically, but I don't know if he was really needed to panic that much. You could also just get an Engineering Bay and a bunch of turrets, and a Cyclone only really does 1v1, well, not 1v8, or whatever it's going to be.
We'll see how he plans to utilize this, because the thing about the Cyclone is it's going to be pretty good against Roaches, if that's the case. And for GuMiho, obviously, I think we all know tanks are better than Cyclones against Roaches, but still not a bad unit to have for that in-between of not knowing what it'll be. I mean, it doesn't take a super genius to know what Rogue's doing. I mean, for goodness sake, if Zombie Grub and I can figure it out without having hopped into the game, GuMiho certainly can while scouting. Because Rogue has been doing this consistently against many different Terrans over several different groups. I want to remind you all that GuMiho and Rogue didn't play in the same group. It was Pult and Ryung. And GuMiho is pretty good friends with Ryung, what being the MVP connection, but even if they didn't share replays or information, it wasn't hard to catch the VODs of this.
No. I think also just, they do prepare for each other at some points in Pro League. So you mentioned Rogue's Pro League is on Monday. Well, Gumiho's still on a Pro League team. It just would have been, I guess, on Tuesday instead. So that's why he has no problem. Actually might lose the tank, but the Nitas don't go for the chase, the kill.
Got two Cyclones. I didn't realize he had gone for a second one. This is such a strange thing to see. I mean, the Cyclone's not bad. As we see, it's got range. It will kill a Muta. It's cool to see. Oh, it's two Mutas even. Wow. But the thing is, they don't have a lot of health, and they're usually easily killed.
Okay. Right.
Payback. Payback.
yeah. He was so close to being able to get that back home, but not quite. Right, it's actually pushing with this, too. Like, he is looking to stop Rogue's transferring to Roaches before it gets to be too much, because Rogue... He didn't really want to start making, like, a lot of Roaches until, well, his third tank was more secured, although it is mining right now, and his upgrades were closer to finishing. So he's forced to make a lot of Roaches. They did see the push-out, and I think with this amount of Roaches, he should be good. But if he was playing any greedier, then he would be in a lot of trouble.
This is so crazy to me that two Cyclones could be such a hard counter to Rogue's opening. They're going to try and take the fight, but that's not going to work. Cyclones get locked on once again, and 6 Mutas have bled off to these, 5. Excuse me. Almost 6 Mutas have died.
The Liberators and the tank positioning are just so damn good. I mean, that is a lot of Roaches that Rogue is getting, but they do get on top of the Cyclones really quickly, and then the Liberators go down, so that was enough units.
Focus the Mutas. Please, Marines, focus that one Muta!
If Rogue was any greedier, if he had waited to start his Roach Warren, then GuMiho probably would have won, but now GuMiho's probably going to lose.
Right, this is borderline that mech dynamic, especially when it comes to fighting against any race, where GuMiho he had really good units, but he gave them away, and now he doesn't have much army for it. Now, Rogue's a little bit tentative to push, but he is pushing, and GuMiho really doesn't have a setup for this. Had he lost everything like he did in the front lines, but at least taken the Mutas out of the fight, I think with Medivacs you can at least shuffle around and defend the Roaches and Ravagers. However, those Mutas are going to take off the Medivacs. They're going to snipe that tank. GuMiho's dead.
I think GuMiho was really trying to go for like a hard counter, like I know exactly what you're doing, and then it just didn't work.
It was working up until that one point.
Yeah. I really feel he was also predicting the Roach transfer. I don't think it's a situation where he was hoping Rogue's gonna stick on Mutaling Bling, because then the Cyclones make absolutely no sense for that, right? Because what are they gonna do against Lings? I guess help out a little bit versus the Nitas still, but possibly just anticipating a later swap. Rogue was on top of everything, however.
Yeah.
So good job, Rogue.
I mean, that looked really cool for GuMiho. Like, good job, Rogue. He won. And I feel like in a not even alternate reality, in a slightly different situation, like had GuMiho left the Liberators untransformed instead of transformed, like that one difference to the fight, like that could have been so monumentally different. But yeah, game 1. Next map's gonna be all Reyna. I'm gonna go load up that intro while we get this started. And I'm gonna have to go open a window. I don't know what it's so warm in here. I don't have heat on. I never have heat on.
Oh, I wish it was warm. Sometimes my parents, they turn off the air conditioner and just open the windows, and those are my favorite days.
Maybe it's just my G2A hoodie keeping me a little too toasty.
That thing looks really good.
It does. I actually really like it. It's very soft. It's very soft. I'm good when they're good. So, do stick with us, guys. I'm going to just, during the intro, hop up really quick, so might be 1 second or two coming back.
HP?
HP? Oh, yeah. You asked for their health points. Rude. Alright, we'll see you guys here in just a moment as we get into Orena. So Zombie Grub opens up this game with a comment in chat that she gave her cat a little bit of yogurt, and now he wants it all.
It's
and
true.
I have this exact same problem with our dog, actually. He will not eat any of the dog food we buy for him, but if we sneak yogurt into his food, he's all over it. So I don't... Animals and yogurt, man.
Yeah, yesterday Pyro was trying to eat my green beans. I thought that was really weird.
Oh, well, let's see if this is a scout or maybe something also weird. It's game 2 here for the Ting Open. Spawning in the bottom left side of the map, it is going to be the yellow Zerg player, Jinair's Rogue.
In the top left, kind of, he is the Red Saharan GuMiho.
Okay, so we've seen many different variations of this, and it feels like almost none of which work when it's Marines. GuMiho's not putting down the refinery, so it looks like he is going to be doing a third and possibly a fourth racks behind it. And we'll see how this cheese works out for him. I do like this move, though, because I think he knows full well Rogue's capable of doing cheese himself, and GuMiho may not want to have to bother trying to deal with queen drops and whatnot. I do want to take a moment, though, before things jumpstart to talk about our sponsors real quick, because this tournament wouldn't be possible without TING, guys. TING is a U.S. mobile phone service, emphasis there on the United States, as they want to save you guys some money each month on your phone bills. So check them out. Go through our link, bttv.ting.com, and learn more about them.
Well, this is going to be a little different. Yeah, well, the bunker's going to start. It's only 2 racks, however, so you can even afford 4 racks, technically.
Wait, he double gasses behind this.
Right, exactly, and maybe even a Lorax if you're really greedy, but
this
the
is cool.
double gas behind this means he's going to transfer out pretty quickly and go into a 1-base build that is a follow-up that Rogue might not anticipate.
Right, so this is like a non-committal version of this, at least in the front lines. It's still going to be committed all in, and he wants to win the game, but it does look like he's going to be following up with something more akin to like tank drops or such behind it. Now, this hatchery is going to be under some pressure, and the Lings obviously won't be able to break this bunker anytime soon. That bunker is in range of the hatchery too. Safety, you can put other Marines on the low ground, and of course, let's not forget the barracks do block out that run across the map. However, Rogue is going away around the long way. Now, as long as GuMiho's not playing complacent and he's got these depots all raised, he shouldn't have any problems back at home. Not until things like the Roaches come into play, which, by the way, he does scout the Roach Warren. Yeah,
that was a nice scout, an anticipated move, probably, but you want to make sure that they're not trying to go up to, I don't know, like a layer and a spire to really mix you up. So, the Roaches, yeah, he's starting to go home. That is a good move. I mean, he got the hatchery, he got what he wanted, so with just a single bunker and 5 Marines, there's no more reason to actually just put more bunkers down, especially if you're not going to have very much money. You're trying to go up to a 1-base starport. The Lings do catch 2 of these Marines. Well, maybe just 1 Marine.
You probably cut him down. 4 Marines.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, he saves the other one.
Nicely done.
He's going to take out every single Ling and lose no Marines. Thanks.
How's that wall? Real nice. Ravage can help break the bunker. SCV does get picked off. Not without dealing a little bit of counter damage. Of course, he dives in for that low Roach. Wants to kill the Queen if possible. The bunker dying. This does kind of let up on pressure. And as we see, Rogue is still going to try and take a base. But while this goes on for GuMiho, again, just that emphasis on the starport actually came down. Now, question is, will that be a tank? Okay, it is going to be a tank and a medevac. Banshees wouldn't be, Banshees really wouldn't be too bad in this situation either.
I guess they wouldn't be. Maybe like if he had a follow-up to a follow-up, they might go for him. But I don't know about doing that without the second CC. Thanks to Digital Rasa, 4-month sub. Woo. And the Marines actually come in actually a little bit odd.
I think he was hoping to just distract more than anything else.
Yeah, I guess so. He's not going to be able to focus fire any of these units down now. Only 3 Marines is not too scary. But now the tank pops out, and the medevac's all in the way, so Rogue can't do very much more. And the question is, how is this game going to go? I mean, GuMiho's going to be on 1 base for how long? Rogue has to replan his natural, but how long is he going to commit to a natural? And well, we do have a CC down, which Rogue scouts, which is pretty important.
I just want to point out, too, that tank, damn.
Wow.
Whoa, this is risky. Like, he wants to get the shots off to kill a unit, and that's great, but 1 auto attack, not even like a corrosive bout, but an auto attack kills that tank.
I definitely should repair it, just an off chance. Even if he's 100% confident in his micro, it's dangerous.
Actually, you pick up the Marines with the medevac and kill that Overlord.
Yeah, I think that's what he thought about doing. There we go. Misses. There we go.
Nice pickoff.
Rogue supply block now. He was just getting into Overlords, so it's going to be a little while longer before he can get basically more drones.
I'm really excited with the Liberators. There's a couple different ways this can go down. Tank comes out here, sets up a position with some Marines outside this ramp, and the Liberator covers it, or he distracts in the front with the tank, liberates the main. There's a couple of different ways GuMiho could go about it. It is a question of which direction that Liberator goes when it spawns. But the tank at least is going to come up to that same spot we see so common, so often on this map.
Rogue is not playing very greedy. He does not go for a 3rd base, but instead goes for a lair right now. And we'll see if he's going to bother getting a Spire or just commits to further Roach upgrades. I think a Spire in the mid-game can actually be very useful on this map, in this matchup. And then you swap back into Roaches, of course. But that Spire can deal with any, small push they have. They can deal with drops, of course. Another Overlord goes down here and will supply block them again? No, Rogue's building 3 Overlords.
You could build GuMiho, if you can't find too much damage in the main, he will be able to kill more Overlords, which is nice. Counterattack goes off out of Rogue, so he's going to try and keep GuMiho pressured at home, but there's some tanks set up and good to go. If that medevac comes home, he'll be fine. Liberator does set up in the main. That Queen not going to stand a chance.
Yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
Oh!
The SCVs are pulled. There's 3 tanks. Rogues, Roaches had no... I don't know what they were thinking, man.
Well, the Ravagers just kind of... I like the idea of the Ravagers. They tried to get into the dead zone of the tanks. That wasn't a bad idea, but that went very poorly for him. Back at home, GuMiho is getting pushed off with those corrosive biles, but that push coming down the middle of the map, I mean, this looks a little bit silly, and you're like, GuMiho, calm down, you don't have a lot of units, but that's the point, neither does Rogue, and he wants to really try and take advantage of this. Yeah,
it's key units, you know? If he had gone for a Spire, it wouldn't be done, so, but like, say it was, like, key units can be picked off by 8 mutas while you transfer back into Roaches. They pick off a Liberator one at a time, they pick off the tanks, and maybe, you know, God willing, they get the medevac as well, but because Rogue threw away his army, that was just like GuMiho being like, okay, I can definitely push now. First of all, it was a trigger, even though GuMiho was probably to try and push. Yeah, totally. And, well, Rogue's just in a lot of trouble. This is a very powerful setup. Killed his own Overlord? Or his Marines did. Either way, Rogue's in trouble. In fact, he's about to be supply blocked.
The bear goes down.
More units.
He does break this, actually. Not too bad. But... at the same time, for Rogue to sit on 37 drones on 2 bases normally would be pretty terrible, but GuMiho's economy's not exactly booming behind this. He doesn't have a 3rd CC getting him ahead. Like, he is pushing to win this, so if Rogue loses too much army, if GuMiho loses too much army, normally in StarCraft 2, we're talking about economy, we're talking about macro, but this is one of those games where, micro mistakes and control of your units is going to be the most important aspect of it, because army for army, well, not normally that much of a factor, is here.
I love, like, he's been so close to losing that medevac, but once again, 3 tanks are sieged up. The SCVs are pulled to make sure that the Ravagers do not get on top of the tanks. And while he loses SCVs, Rogue is probably going to lose his army.
Well, GuMiho might lose his tanks if he's not careful.
Very, very careful. The Lings are not the most obnoxious parts, as they are going to help splash the SCVs. There they go, finally going down. But that's 18 SCVs, very quickly jumped up from 8.
Yeah. This position's not looking good either, with the Spire starting up behind it. That does put a bit of a clock on GuMiho, because his composition, while great against Roaches and Ravagers, doesn't hold up well versus Mutas at all. And even if he is going to go, say, like, double Liberator production, or lots of Marines, it's still going to be hard to get a composition that's going to be good enough to defeat Rogue's economy, which, as the 3rd base goes down, and he's up 12, 14 workers, it's going to look better and better as time goes on.
He is winning the income war, but GuMiho isn't doing as bad as you would expect, you know, at 9 minutes if a Terran was down at 20 SCVs, because both of them were on very low economic game for quite a while. Rogue having to, you know, entirely place his natural, and his 3rd not quite set up. I mean, Rogue realized the situation and is not being greedy either. He took a long time to get to that 3rd. He's going to take a while longer to drone it. He's, you know, didn't go for the Spire immediately, but realizes that it could be a very useful tool and is going to try and sneak out a couple of mutas. Problem is, he's going to get like 5 mutas and then not much else, and I'm not sure 5 mutas are going to be able to snipe anything here.
Well, that's the problem. He might not even have them time. This is a very important timing for GuMiho. Now, he's going to get counterattacked while this goes on. He won't be able to defend it, but he's got such a big army, he may be able to just push to win the game with this. Once again, even if the mutas spawn, he might take too much damage before they're able to clean this up. One unsieged tank up here on the high ground, a little bit awkward to see, but not too bad to have in that fight. It does still deal some pretty good damage. Tanks on the backside a little too clumsy. The corrosive biles get dangerous, but Rogue loses his entire ground army. Now he wants to make mutas, sure, but he had to put all that money into more Roaches, which might not even hold this for him.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to afford like 3 mutas now, and maybe they would be able to pick off these tanks to the lack of anti-air, but his counter was also cleaned up. So how he does finally do it.
This also means we're going to see 2 Koreans go at it on Detox, by the way, locking that down.
Ooh. Oh.
Oh my, ooh. Alright guys, we're going to hop into a small break. We'll keep it short, I promise, nothing too long. As again, it's only 2 best of 7s today. We will not be overdoing the commercial breaks, but we do want to, of course, give some love to sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't have this awesome tournament. So, small word from TING. We'll see you guys in a sec. Alright, sorry about that, folks. So the break did take a few seconds longer, admittedly, than I intended. I want to keep that really short, but when the video didn't load properly, I wanted to make sure I took the time to make sure all the other videos would load properly. So Taking a few seconds here so that we don't mess up everything later on. But Kappa Frog in one chat says he's been using Ting for 3 years, and here's the cool thing, dude. Jesse's been pretty generous with this. Well, I can't promise you anything. If you're already a Ting user, if you're signing up recently, you can still ask to have the BTTV $25 in credit applied to your account. Worst case scenario, they say no, but make sure to check it out, guys, because they are being really awesome with all of this. Thank you to Stelios Cantos. I thought we already had him as a sub. Maybe he's a resub, maybe he's a new sub. Either way, thank you for subscribing to the channel. As we get into your 2 game number 3 in this best of 7, and that's right, you guys heard us. It's a best of 7 for this semifinals match. Spawning in the top right side of the map, it is going to be the blue Terran, GuMiho.
In the bottom left, as the yellow Zerg, he is Rogue.
So I'm equal parts excited slash, I guess, anticipating a long game on this one. Just in general, Dusk Towers has been longer maps, and players like GuMiho, the Rax game was kind of cute to watch, and that pressure was dire, but it worked. But it's also not something GuMiho commonly does. I think we've seen those nights where he's like, screw it, I'm kind of done, I'm just going to Rax and hope for the best. And sometimes it actually wins, and sometimes it doesn't. But this early into a series, game 3 in a best of 7, I doubt we're going to see anything too committed out of him. In fact, I would wager we see a pretty decent game on this one.
Dusk Towers usually does play to the macro game, but that is something that you can try and take advantage of. Certainly Rogue threw out an all-in on this map. That's, well, it didn't work, but doesn't mean that it wouldn't ever work. And GuMiho could throw out a 2-base build just to mix things up, but I think that GuMiho doesn't mind going into that mid-game with 3 CC, and will certainly take advantage of it if he feels like it's that map to do so. So you're going for Hellions. And there's this kind of funky wall off.
Again, I'm a little bit more concerned and... not concerned. Curious what Rogue's going to do. Because GuMiho... well, he's not exactly Pulse, and he's not exactly the meching guy he used to be. He doesn't do a lot of crazy stuff. Like, he does play the game pretty much as you would expect most Terrans to play. Abuse Liberators if possible, go for a lot of... I mean, let's not forget, it was like GuMiho made Hydra look silly with Liberators. And go for Marine Drops and whatnot, if you can pull that off. I don't think we're going to see special tactics out of him, is what I'm trying to say. Rogue, however... no, he's not 2-base spiring. He's done great things with Mutalisk. His control's fantastic. He's really good at transitioning and trying to catch his opponent off guard. I mean, these guys are GSL players for good reason, guys, and they're constantly showing some of the best builds in the game, but it is that question of, like, what will Rogue do to make GuMiho react and not the other way around?
I'm looking forward to Laralac. Well, we might see GuMiho throw out, like, his air mech.
Yeah,
apparently
actually,
likes to do on that map.
That Banshee build, that 2-port's sick!
Yeah.
I can't believe
I
that
don't know
one
what it is
that
about
game, too.
Laralac. Did he? Was it, okay, yeah, it was like Masa or whoever who did the other one.
Yeah, Masa did the one that was like...
yeah.
not so hot. GuMiho was like, oh, cool, these Banshees actually worked, even though they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Thank you to Vetlerb. Vetlerb? I'm sorry if I'm saying that name incorrectly. The Roger. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. What's our sub count at today? We are at 1,238. Thanks to you.
It's pretty sick. The build here looks a little odd and is...
whoa.
It almost looks like a fake, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not. There's no reason to go to Tech Lab if you're actually going to go for a Liberator, so it should just be a Liberator followed up by a Banshee.
This is cool. I like this. We've
Yeah.
talked about this several times where I've discussed like the merit of throwing out a Banshee because you'll have that Liberator get something low and then have to move away or not be able to finish a maneuver. Like, the Banshee will be continued damage, but also on a big map like this, if it was, let's say, GuMiho preparing for the macro game, Banshees are actually great late game investments. Hyperplate Rotors we've been seeing more commonly on the stream. We saw a lot of that with Ryong yesterday versus Snoot, and the Banshees are great units.
Yeah, the combination of both like actually complementing each other hasn't been seen since like the beginning of Legacy of the Void, but they can, like, the Liberator can help cover the Banshee and vice versa if everything is set up nice and perfect, basically. Hellions really don't do very much. Rogue does not anticipate this Liberator, but he still reacts to it pretty damn quick.
He has a lot of queens here too, so GuMiho doesn't pull that way, he'll lose it. Thank you to JNB in 1985.
Woo!
Being not just an old StarCraft fan by the looks of it off that date, but also just for being sub to the channel.
Old. Wow, he beat 32. Oh. Oh, it never wasn't that old 10 years ago, okay?
You're just like, oh, I've just realized how old I am now. I'm getting. I have that
Yeah.
revelation every day, Zombie.
Well,
Every day I
not
work
old.
with you because you're very young in comparison.
Yeah, I said you're old, so it makes sense.
Okay, that's just rude. This is like, when a girl's just like, I don't know, I look so ugly in this picture, and you're supposed to be like, no, you look so cute. Like, don't agree with me and tell me that I'm old. This makes me feel bad.
Age is a number, okay?
Age is just a number, baby. All right, so Banshee doesn't get a lot done, but it does have the queens distracted. If there was a second attack coming in, that wouldn't be too bad. But Rogue did take all the precautions necessary. These spore crawlers are very specifically anti-liberator more than anything else. Now, for GuMiho, this kind of sucks. You're like, okay, my early game aggression was thwarted. Good point for Rogue. However, that doesn't mean the Banshees and the Liberators become any worse, and I like that he kept them alive, because they'll be able to continue to be a use later on. In fact, as the Queens all reach out to chase after the Banshees, that's where the Hellions come in and decide to fry up some drones.
Mm-hmm. I do have Rogue sticking on that Mutilating Bling. I mean, it's Dusk Towers, so it does make sense. But he's also played Roaches on this,
Ooh,
so
this
it's not a given.
With good scout, actually. Seeing a Macro Hatchery come down over a fourth. Oh, Banshee gets a little bit low, has to back away. Queen's coming into the action. Of course, the Hellions are waiting. Oh,
Rip.
rip. But to talk about the Macro Hatchery instead of the fourth, I mean, GuMiho probably had suspicions this was going to be Mutalisks, Banelings, and whatnot, but it's really hard to actually get that confirmation until you see a swell of Banelings or such. I mean, all he's seen is Queens for their defense. Seeing a Macro Hatchery placed down, you don't have the money to make Macro Roaches. You're going to have the money for Macro Lings, and that's where that scout's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's true. You're not gonna be able to scout their upgrades until you click on a Ling anyways. So the Mutas, they start hammering away at these Hellions. They aren't gonna be too much more of a use anymore. I am concerned, like GuMiho, I think, was also a bit concerned.
Oh.
The build opener that he didn't really do a whole lot to stop Rogue or hinder him. Little changeling.
Zombie grub.
So
Zombie
his what?
He's forgotten combat shields.
Oh, well, it's okay. He's gotten Sim before. It's fine. Actually, he should probably get that. But I was gonna say, like, regardless of combat shields, even though it is important, his big push that would usually have a couple of tanks with it too, was pushed off because of the build that he did. The amount of gas he got in the early
Banelings,
game.
speed on creep, a little bit scary. Can't split, takes the hits.
Yeah, and that will get cleaned up. So I liked that GuMiho went for this really stupidly quick fourth base, but then I was a little confused by his aggression.
Right.
It's
Just
was
gonna
a
give it
little
away.
weird. Yeah, now I guess he'll start to hold back and maybe swap over into tanks. There's his combat shields, but no, still sticking on those Wood of Mines. Second starport is on the way, so that's what I was more anticipating. And
So-
he is going to just have to prep for ultras. I mean, the thing is that Rogue has not always been playing the fast ultra game. He's actually been dedicating a lot to Mutilating Bling first.
Okay, well, looks like the air's been cleaned out too. It's a little unfortunate. Those Banshees, I think, tried to slip off to the left side while that was going on. They get picked off. That's a lot of mutas in the main, though. GuMiho.
Yeah.
It's got actually the turret coverage isn't bad.
If GuMiho studied Rogue's replays, or talked to Ryung at all, I suppose, not to study necessarily,
Ooh, no.
he would know that Rogue has been sticking on a lot of mutas, and even upgrading them to +2 carapace.
no.
Now this shouldn't go down. The Marines are stimming back. Yeah,
He
I'm gonna
double
stim.
stim to get here, though, and that
Oh, it's gonna go down? No. It's not gonna be worth it.
still on fire. A little bit scary.
Yeah.
Gotta get some SUVs over there to repair. But yeah, what you were saying with the aspect of knowing what Rogue was doing. I mean, this isn't just something where okay, you guys play once in a while, maybe in GSL because you're both good enough to meet in the round of 16, round of 32 thing. But it is the fact that just yesterday you have a teammate, they are literally teammates meeting each other, staying in the same house. Says, Ryung, bro, what happened yesterday? What happened the day before? In that group stage. Help me out.
I don't know how this is really gonna go. Ryung might have been able to tell him everything, down to the timings, but I don't know if GuMiho is, I guess, just trying to hard counter. Basically, it really looked like he was trying to hard counter in that first game, so maybe he is. But I guess it's interesting that your response to learning that someone is sticking on Mutilating Bling for a long time is to be more defensive. But that's kind of what GuMiho is doing. I mean, besides that one push that was combat shieldless and
What
barely
is
any
this?
medevacs, just why not is my question.
It's leaking. It's not even doing anything
Yeah.
on purpose.
Yeah,
All right,
but
so-
I mean, Rogue recognized how defensive it was. He scouted the 4th base after all and almost killed it too. So sure, he still wasn't the fastest Ultralisk Cavern we've ever seen. In fact, the fastest one we've seen is probably 7 minutes. But he is getting up to it at a decent time, and GuMiho is just kind of given the option to Rogue.
This is where it gets really interesting, though. GuMiho has gone heavily into these Liberators. And Liberator weapon upgrades are going to be great, air or ground. In fact, these units have got to run. But the thing I want to note is GuMiho's been continually producing Widow Mines while this goes on. Something a lot of Terran players haven't been doing for a while. Now, the Widow Mines for me are really cool for a couple of different reasons. One, obviously, in the best case scenario, you take out the Banelings, good fights, lucky shots, you name it. But secondly, not so much against the Ultras, as they will be good against those Corruptors, weirdly enough.
Well, these Corruptors are going to have +2 Carapace,
right,
which is not usually what we see.
And with 4 armor or so, Marines are actually not going to do that great of a job of like shooing them away. This isn't even a full wall, even if the depots were raised, so...
Yeah, that's a little awkward. A couple SCVs are going to go down, and it will actually pull GuMiho back. I think less so because he was worried this would do extreme amounts of damage, but more that he didn't want to have to divert his attention and then lose a bunch of units to like Banelings rolling on creep, which Rogue has been able to run away with.
The worst Widow Mine hits.
The Liberators were actually what went forward, chasing these mutas, I suppose, but they find a couple of Corruptors instead.
I don't know if that's accidental or on purpose, but Rogue kind of diving in gets that splash damage off. More Widow Mines down. This is what I was talking about, having those protect the Liberators. Really awesome, really cool to see.
Yeah. If he's going to continue making Widow Mines, and Drilling Claws would be a good option. It's not like they're terrible against Ultralisk either, but...
No, but see, this is where Drilling Claws is weird, right? Like, I agree, there's no reason not to have it if you got the money. GuMiho's got the money right now. He's got minerals and gas galore. But if you're using them defensively, you're not constantly pushing a front line with them, you don't really need the ability to burrow fast. You set them in the back, so it's not a priority upgrade, but...
That's true. I don't think you should ever not use them offensively. Like, if you're going to continue making them.
No, yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, like, this is not like missing combat shields, for example. It's, no shots fired. That was actually just like a reference.
Yeah, sure. But it's like, I think if he's going for Widow Mines, then fully upgrade them. But is Widow Mines even like the best option? Well, not necessarily, in my opinion. Like, I like that he didn't really commit to a lot of them. Defensively, they're going to be great for, like, for instance, these Ling run buys that have constantly been pulling back his army. A couple well-placed Widow Mines will be able to deal with it. Sure, maybe you could get a couple of Corruptor shots, but I think that, going harder into Liberators or, adding on, I guess, Vikings potentially, because the air war might be coming soon, but also, like, tanks or just the mass Marauder army that we saw from Young would actually be better than Widow Mines. Widow Mines they do fall off in that late game, even if the concept is really cool, like similar to the concept of them beating carriers. You rarely ever see it, and the concept is nice, but it usually doesn't play out that way.
So there's an interesting thing that just happened. We barely got a tail end of it on the camera. I didn't think Rogue would be crazy enough to throw Banelings into a planetary fortress, but he did. And he did get about 8 SCV kills. GuMiho's also going to kill a lot of mutas on the way out with these Marines, or I guess he didn't focus fire, so it gets a little bit awkward. But not bad, because the drop was kind of destined to die.
The muta count no longer a concern for Rogue, not something that you want to just throw away willy-nilly, but they are just supplementing the Corruptors right now. A lot of more Liberators are on the way. GuMiho was that guy that ended up going to like 15 Liberators and then counterattacking and winning because of like killing Overlords.
He made Hydra look silly. I mean, it was just plain simple as that. Banelings do get taken up pretty quickly. This planetary does have, it's planetary, so it's good to go. Pick it up on the high ground, not a bad spot to kind of sit and chill. He's not really... I don't think he's revealed his new Liberator count, has he? He's just been kind of bulking them up. So Rogue, who has been thinking, all right, I got a very adequate amount of Corruptors, this is just fine, hasn't really had anything to sweat about. So he's been making more Banelings, he's been making more Ultralisks, but GuMiho is maybe going to catch him a little off guard. Kind of in the same way Snoot was hiding his Vipers yesterday. We're going to have the Liberators being hidden somewhere here today. Now, this is not going to go so well. There's no reason for Rogue to really push into this, because GuMiho's not using this ledge to threaten anything just yet.
Now a couple of drones are transferred over. I think he's just threatened by the potential drop into the main, which is exactly what's going on. I'm surprised that Rogue let it happen. Like, at least keep a couple of 1 or 2 Ultras back at home. Some of them are racing
a lot of Banelings!
Oh, Jesus. Oh god, there was no splits.
They were,
Splits.
they were trying to run through the Marauders, which wasn't a bad idea either. Corruptors do get the ability to push the Liberators back. Planetary's going to hold on to this, so this won't be so bad. This army's still running in the middle of the map for their lives. Back at home, an Ultralisk, it goes down, but so do the drops. And it looks like those double drops get cleaned up by the Mutas and the Ultra as well. So GuMiho's presence on Rogue's side of the field completely gone, and losing that 4th base. He's still mining off a 5th, but this is not looking good for GuMiho.
Well, it was. I mean, his composition wasn't really that bad, and actually, Liberator's finally taking on those Corruptors, but he was entirely caught off guard. I think he thought that he was going to threaten more with those 4 drops, which well actually cleaned up pretty easily by 2 Ultras.
I think if this was like an Archon mode match, you had someone who got to dedicate to those drops and stutter them around. Maybe a little bit better, but thank you, Dr. Scotty255 and Zebrasin, both subscribing here at the end of the game. Big love. All right, well, Rogue, of course, now taking a lead in the series, but, you know, this is a best of 7, and truth be told, 2-1, not that big of a deal. Not slander for GuMiho just yet. That was a pretty good game as well.
Next map's going to be Orbital Shipyard.
All right, I'm going to load the intro. So yeah, that's what's kind of cool. There are no vetoes available because of the way we've done this. Every map is going to get played in the map pool. It's worth noting that we don't have Central Protocol available. It is instead Detox.
Yeah.
So we will see Detox, I believe, next, right? If this goes to it?
I believe so.
Yeah, map 5.
Yeah. If there was a veto, this might have been Rogue's veto. We've been seeing a lot of Zergs veto this map because of the Reapers.
Yeah, we'll see if GuMiho goes for that. At the same time, strange as it is to describe, that may be almost like too predictable. Like, air quotes here is.
Well, I think that's where the like this recent trend of only going for like 3 Reapers and then really being greedy behind it is coming into play. I think maybe the hard counter to that would be like a Nidus Worm, and that is quite a scary option if Rogue is going to try and predict what GuMiho is going to go for. But otherwise, it seems like a very good build. We have yet to see anyone break it. Most Zergs just being like, oh crap, I guess can't do anything about that, and slowly get their own 3rd base.
Well, we are waiting for Rogue to join us in the lobbies. Just taking a moment here. Hopefully it won't be too long. He's just celebrating that victory. Like, really hard.
I mean, you might have the lobby bug. Nope, he was just celebrating the victory.
Okay, cool. By the way, thank you again to the people at StarCraft Esports for the constant coverage here, tweeting about the event. I went and retweeted them, and if you guys aren't already following their Twitter, make sure to do so. You can follow them on Twitter at StarCraft Esport. It's the unofficial one, but it's the more dedicated one. Anyways, intro coming. We'll see you soon. All right. Welcome back. Game number 4. This is, of course, the TING Open. I had to, like, is this 5? No, 5 is next. It is game number 4. This is the TING Open. Spawning in the bottom left side of the map. He is currently down 1 in the series. It's GuMiho.
In the top right, as the yellow Zerg, he is Rogue.
So, a small point to touch on, it hasn't been influential, and we're not seeing the players complain about it, but it is just worth noting really quick. We did have a bit of a time zone issue with today. Some confusion across many different fronts, not just one person making a mistake. And Rogue, I know, was particularly not super thrilled with the start time of this, because he thought it would be an hour earlier, and so did I, but again, I have no idea. When it comes to time zones, I'm fine. When it comes to daylight savings, I can't. It's like algebra to me. So,
yeah.
Regardless of all these little hiccups, it does seem that Rogue, who had expressed some unsatisfaction, I guess, is doing quite well. I mean, even in the game he lost, it didn't look bad. Like, GuMiho on Orena was not an easy win for him. So it's good to see that Rogue wasn't super tilted coming into this, because I was a little bit worried, you know, like...
I think it changes now to 13 hours ahead, I think, from me.
Don't even. I can't. I'm just...
Well, I'm
by the way,
pretty sure.
I will say like 99% of the reason I use Team Liquid is because of the conversion they do. Like, you put it on the calendar in your time, and they tell everyone else what the time is, and you're like, thank you. Thank you so
exactly.
much.
Well, I'm just thinking that it's probably like 11:40 at night, so it's not bad. Like, this guy had to play at 4 a.m. yesterday, or however that works when you configure, 13-hour time difference.
Right, but for me, what I imagine is the case for him is, since there was the issue of Pro League coming up, finishing this tournament,
Yeah.
getting sleep, waking up, getting practice, getting to the venue, playing Pro League. Like, there's of course a really big prize pool for this tournament, but nothing's going to outweigh things Kespa does. And Jin Air's a pretty big team.
Pro League is pretty prestigious, and Jin Air is always going to be that contender for at least a top 4 and probably top 2.
Oh!
Liz of the Reaper.
Nicely done, Rogue.
Yes, very nicely done. So that is definitely a concern. Like, and other people have brought it up in the chat too. So even just that hour could have been a big difference. I guess if it really starts, like, if they play an hour-long game, I would not be surprised to see Rogue start throwing in those cheeses. Even if they don't play an hour-long game, I think throwing in some cheeses is just inevitable, as Rogue does, he knows how to play best of 7, and at some point a cheese would be certainly worth it to catch GuMiho off guard. Although GuMiho's been really good at anti-cheese. He got like one base Baneling from Hydra and still dealt with it with like last-minute scouting. So maybe he just believes GuMiho is going to be impenetrable.
I am really curious to see how these guys are going to handle Detox. We did have Detox in a couple of the Corsair Cups, and I actually believe GuMiho played in one of them too. But I know Rogue has not, obviously, competed much. And that's actually, it's story time for a moment here, guys. A lot of you don't know this. There's no issue with prize pool. Like, $5, $50, $100, a lot of Koreans would play for the sake of just playing. A lot of people have that really good competitive mentality, and that's why you see some people like Solar once in a while sort of branch out and go against what team wishes would be, because for those who don't know, a lot of the Kespa teams don't allow their players to play in anything that's deemed unworthy. I guess they're really worried about image, and I don't blame them, because they have big sponsors they got to live up to, but it does kind of suck, because you've got players like Jin Air in general doesn't play in things like the Alima League or Corsair Cups or anything, because they're just straight up not allowed to. In fact, we had like Maru play in an Alima League, win in Alima League, and then get in trouble for it, allegedly. So it kind of sucks. But with a big tournament like this, I was really glad to see Jin Air come out. They were the only really big team, though, because I was surprised. MVP's different. They're like their own special case. But normally really we have Samsung Galaxy players. I was expecting to maybe see like a little bit more, because I messaged some people from KT, but like nothing. So I just want to throw out there, the fact that Rogue is even playing still makes me very, very happy.
It's super cool to see him. We saw SOS as well, and then another generic player that I forget who it was.
SOS gave us like the coolest games, but they failed.
Yeah, I remember, because it was one Terran, one Zerg, and one Protoss from Jin-Air. It's like the representatives for the qualifiers. It was actually kind of weird that way.
2Y or no? It wasn't 2Y.
Maybe I was wrong.
Because I remember SOS for certain. Oh, we'd have to look. The qualifiers were so long. We'd have to look. It's like 100,000 games ago. I just want to note, though, the Cyclone comes out once again from GuMiho. This is really interesting for me. So we saw how well this worked in concept on Predators. Fell apart because the control was lacking, but I don't think the strategy was bad, and I like the idea behind it.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll ever actually see SKT and KT players. I think we never see them.
I think that if we did something where the money was there, it'd be more likely.
Maybe.
Because in the past, like, BaseTradeTV was really, really tiny. Like, who the hell, even for, forget the prestige aspect, like, you just want to protect the players. Don't let them play in some scummy tournament that might not pay out, right? But, this is a year later since we last actually reached out to SKT, and we've got the name now. And I'm hoping something like the TING Open would make this perhaps a little bit more like, oh, maybe that their guys can play in Season 2 when it comes down type thing.
Maybe. It would be really awesome to see it. But the other one was Cure.
Cure, yes, thank you. Okay, that's who it was.
Yeah, so representatives from each race. Now the game is really heated up. We got that 2-base Spire that's leading into a macro game. GuMiho did not do anything cheesy. He went for 2 Reapers, which is a little interesting, and both got denied pretty hard, but I think he got the gist from what he was
4
able to
Liberators?
scout.
Get out of here, Mutalists.
Yeah, Mutalisk aren't going to be able to do anything, but Rogue was not going to stick on Mutaling Bling this game, although he has in the past. Orbital Shipyard, some similar map design to Dusk Towers does lend itself to it. It's okay, but it also is fine for Roaches.
So he's got the Cyclone behind, which might help with counterattacks. Uh-oh. Whoa. What?
Whoa.
Okay, that was like different shades of awkward.
Yeah. Big chunk of those lings went down to that tank, but unfortunately the Cyclone, this is his one weakness. It's like stairs.
Stairs! No!
Yeah. Actually, with the repair, the Cyclone does fine against the limited amount of lings. Once again, we have a kind of an odd-looking push here that's just not a lot of units, not like the 60 Marines and 2 Medevacs that we were so used to seeing, but it is going to try and abuse another good position, just like it tried to do on Prion. This time, Rogue is not going to be as desperately holding. This isn't as all-in from GuMiho, but he just want to make sure that GuMiho doesn't like drop in his main, thanks to that tank positioning. And actually deals with this really easily.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Mido's getting anything done. Like, even if it's just like an odd hit, even if he's not killing anything, like Forward Liberators this early really is like a get out. And because you know Rogue's not going for 50 mutas, like you really don't need to invest too heavily beyond this. Actually, that would be the weirder way to play. I think for Rogue, when you go muta into roaches, there is this element of it that's supposed to be the surprise factor, and that's what makes it so strong. But when it's predictable, and you have someone just building tanks and liberators and plenty of marines, I mean, I can't really see Rogue getting too much done with this. As the liberators coming from behind, they're gonna take out those mutas.
He doesn't have stim. Like, I think he actually forgot it for at least like 30 seconds, but I also think his build was a part of the reason why stim was so late. But it is awfully late. I mean, his 1-1 upgrades have finished. For the huge. Instead, we're talking about stim isn't done. Like, holy shit. What's he gonna be able to do here?
There's 4 tanks. I'm not so concerned about stim. Marines, if nothing else, they're just gonna buy time for the tanks to get their shots, and that's where a lot of this becomes very important. Now, one tank does go down, and the corrosive bile damage. Well, GuMiho's starting to falter a little bit. He, of course, can't just rely on the liberators.
I mean, the stim oftentimes just looks like it's something to use to dodge corrosive biles easier, but truly that the roach wall would have gone down a lot faster. Now, GuMiho does not die to this, and Rogue pulls back very smartly with the rest of the Ravagers, but he still doesn't have combat shields, so Rogue could follow up with another attack and try and make it work.
I still wish we would have seen more usage of that Cyclone. Like, I'm actually really hyped for the Cyclone, just period. But nice split of the Mutalisks, by the way. They're still going to go down to the Liberators, but GuMiho, he can't even set up the Liberators to defend necessarily. There's going to be corrosive biles. They're going to take out the Liberators. It's a question of how much can those do before they die.
Nope, that one's going to die. They always were trying to repair it, so it would be shut down by one Ravager shot. This one getting repaired too.
Two new tanks, though, on the front lines. It's going to be nice. Third one on that ramp. It's getting a little bit dicey. 14 workers have died, and this base is... Normally you just say lift up and abandon, right? But this is where all GuMiho's supply is. He actually has to defend his third. Where's
all the call-down supply? Rogue is on 4 bases, but he's not teching any further. GuMiho really didn't want to cancel that 4th base. That was like the one huge lead he was going to have after this. But even so, with 2-2 and medevacs, because all the medevacs, some of them have died, but not all of them, he could bring this back, but still no combat shields.
Right, again, GuMiho and combat shields today, like, it's opposite ends of the magnets, just repelling each other. I don't know why. 22 SCVs going down on top of everything that's died so far. This is getting really out of hand, and Rogue... I mean, he's got to be sitting there wondering, like, oh, am I actually getting away with this? Because there's most of the time, this sort of situation, you don't want to keep committing to this, but it's working. And GuMiho's just barely not got enough. That 2-2, or at least the level 2 weapon for the Marines is going to help a lot for this, but he's losing all the bile. He's not going to have anything to benefit from set upgrades.
He's losing all his tanks as well, just getting those last shots on them, and that's going to be it.
GG.
3-1 for Rogue.
Now, of course, for Rogue, this doesn't end this series just yet, but it very well may in a moment. This is, of course, the possible decider match, best of 7, first to 4 wins, so we'll see how Detox goes. We are going to slip away to a small word from our sponsors, though, before we get into the map, so you guys do stick around. We'll see you in a moment. Okay, we're back. Thank you guys for watching that break. We are getting into... game number 5, so as I just fiddle with the score. And this is almost the end of this series, but I had a guy tweet at me, and I can't believe this is true, but everyone in chat is confirming it. Rogue has apparently never had a broadcasted best of 7 before. And even on Aligulac, that seems to be the case.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. He hasn't really been finals of any tournaments.
Right, I know, because I mean, we've had GuMiho versus Parting. We've had a lot of best of 7s with GuMiho. This is by no means his first best of 7, but it just blows my mind in almost like a staggering amount where you're like, wow, how has Rogue, such a fantastic player, never played, much less been broadcast in a best of 7 before?
It's funny.
Well, guys,
is he nervous? I don't think so.
We're breaking ground today. I doubt he's even thinking of it. He's probably just like, man, why did I play so many games today? All right. It's possibly his last game, as he is on his last life currently going into Detox. It is going to be the Red Terran player, GuMiho.
In the top right, as the Yellow Zerg, he is Rogue.
Okay, and to explain this map a little bit, some of you have seen this because it's been played many times in this tournament, but for those that haven't, quick TLDR, because a lot of the Koreans have not played this map, they've been specifically vetoing it. There's a lot of dead space in the main, and everything about this map that I'm about to show you is benefit to the attacker, not the defender, which is very different for StarCraft 2. So for example, low ground main, attacker's advantage. Natural base, the choke is very far away, and of course accessible easily by Reapers. Third base is not one, but two entrances to it. And of course your fourth or fifth bases also have these sort of back entrances through the gas. And the map is really kind of cool because you can do some things like knock down the rocks and shut down pathways and open other ones up, but there's so much high ground advantage for attackers and so many different ways that being the aggressor, regardless of your race, is far more beneficial on this map. GuMiho, by the way, I was going to comment, he didn't put his wall off over here, because you can wall off with like a barracks and a depot, but this one doesn't make much more sense. I don't...
that is just... That's something right there.
That's like, okay, I don't know where the depot goes, but I've got to build it now or I'll be supply blocked, so let's just throw it down here.
I could have sworn GuMiho played at least once on Detox, but I guess I actually don't remember what that game would even have looked like, so... Maybe I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's the quick TLDR Detox. It's got a really cool setup for things. Now, keep in mind, when we wanted to use this map initially, Central Protocol was still broken as hell, and nobody wanted to play it. It was like 100% veto ratio in our tournaments. So we removed it. And it's been fixed, and truth be told, Central Protocol is not a bad map now. And we may even bring it back for the best of 9. However, for the best of 7s in these semis, we've kept Detox, because players have played every single round on it up to this point. There's no point in swapping it out. Plus, we love this map. It's given us fantastic games. Snoop versus Ryung, I don't think would have gone anywhere close to the same way it did yesterday if it didn't play on Detox.
Oh god, yeah. Oh, Jesus. Imagine that on Central Protocol. A couple of Reapers not doing too much here. It's not a super friendly Reaper map. Just have a little bridge to work with, but not much else. Can't get into the main, so that's usually where they are very powerful. So having more than one option. What's interesting about the best of 9, though, is that we're going to have to kind of league that up, too. It's going to be 2 extra maps replayed.
So bring back, like, we can always bring back something old, too. Like, was it Cybet Race Wars is bringing back some of the old maps? We could actually even jump out, like, say, Rack Shear or Sky Shield, maybe.
I mean, if Rogue is actually going to win, it's going to be on Wednesday. I would feel less bad if we gave them 3 days advance notice that, like, hey, by the way, there's going to be 2 maps that weren't ever in the map pool otherwise. But if it's going to be Monday, then I'd feel kind of bad about that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out and discuss. We may just end up leaving it so people can repick their maps. To be honest, that part's not really been decided. But that fast Overlord speed, I thought we were going to see maybe some drop play. For those who haven't seen it... Oh, I did not.
What the flip?
I did not know you could go up there. That's actually a great spot for a Marine to sit, to be honest. But Nurchio has been abusing the drops on this map better than anyone else. And I thought for a second with that Overlord speed, like, oh, Rogue maybe had a bit of an idea from, say, one of these best foreigners type thing. But no, he's just going to lair. We're going to see that third base come down. Most likely Mutas on a map that you're uncomfortable with, that you don't know how the terrain works on. The nice thing is, though, and this is actually a really good point, we got to see this firsthand with Snoot yesterday, how bad clumsy units like Ultras are, how many chokes there are on the map to stop ground units. So by going for something that's more like Baneling Mutalisk related, it's probably better than Roaches and Ravagers. That's arguable, actually, but it's definitely better than late game, say, Ultras.
He does delay these mutas quite a bit, though. Like 3 bases, double Evo Chamber, and then a Spire. They're going to be coming out pretty late, and that's something that GuMiho is going to be able to take advantage of with this very small push once again. I mean, he's been trying to make these smaller, earlier pushes work, and they've been denied really easily so far, thanks to Ravagers, actually, in both games. Already did something akin to this, but this is never going to end the game. It might get a couple of queens.
I'm really curious about this positioning he's trying to get here. It's a little bit odd, but the tank's in a nice spot, nestled behind those minerals. Of course, the queen's trying to focus on the medevac, knowing that that's the real threat. But with the Marines not going down, these queens are actually in a bit of danger. Now, there are some transfuses. They're still trying to focus down that medevac. It's a smart choice. Because, of course, if the Marines die, the medevac's the only form of high ground vision. But one of the queens goes down. Second one looks like it's about to die. They're trying to take that tank out. The high ground does get cleared out, but yeah, he doesn't have vision. GuMiho's trying to wrap around this sky blocker.
Oh, man, the last queen is not going to go down, and the tank goes down, too.
That's unfortunate. This is a very scrappy fight, but to be honest, for both players, didn't go well for either side.
It was okay. I mean, they're both on 3 bases. Third orbital is finishing up here for GuMiho. Yet again, he's holding off on Stim, which would usually have been started, right around or before 1-1. But that's okay. Rogue's not in a hurry to push. He doesn't have a Roach Ravager attack on the way that's timed up with 1-1 like last game. And there is Stim. There you go. And his Spire is actually going to be so late that GuMiho is going to have plenty of time to react against it. Now, because it is later, it also means there's going to be more mutas initially, as opposed to the 4 or 6 that you might see that is no problem. It's going to be right off the bat 10, it looks like, because Rogue is banking quite a lot of gas. GuMiho might have to be kind of careful.
The Liberators are doing a good job cleaning up the Overlords on the map. Just some freebies for now. Does decide to ignore this one? No, okay.
They are freebies. Even if the mutas do come out, they have to be very careful about taking on 4 Liberators. We have an Invitation Pits almost like alongside that Spire, so very quickly in a hive. Ultras are actually the ramps make this a little bit complicated for Ultras, even if you do break down the rocks, which I'm not even sure they recognize are on this map, to be honest. Broodlords are definitely better. There's a lot of towers and a couple of dead spaces. There's a lot of air on the outside of the map here to abuse for Broodlords.
Gotta give some love to some TLO. Oh no, that means if TLO is watching and hosting us, then I'm gonna be muting my microphone all over the place.
I know.
Damn it! But thank you, TLO, for that host. Hello, TLO viewers. Woo! You are joining us here for what is possibly the tail end of this best of 7. Rogue is 1 win away from locking it down. But, of course, more importantly than Rogue and GuMiho are going to be the Team Liquid boys that fight next. Snoot and Mana on deck to play a best of 7 when this concludes. And of course, Mana's been hanging out in chat, so a bit of love to Mana as well. Who, by the way, gave us one of our first great games on this. He lost. It was unfortunate, but him versus Hydra was like one of the cool maps that... the games that really made us say, oh, Detox is a great map.
Now, Rogue didn't go for mutas at all. He's playing, kind of similar to the, he sticks on mutas and Ling and Bling for a while, but without the mutas. He's still getting the Carapace upgrades, but he's going way faster than that Hive, and a lot less Banelings and Lings to work with, although that is going to be his main army. The Liberators actually aren't going to be that much of an issue with these Raptors coming in here.
It looks beautiful where it's set up, but it's not helping.
Yeah, this was not a very good push, but I don't think that GuMiho was anticipating the Liberators going down so quickly, that's for sure, or that was a big enough army. Yeah, that drop didn't do anything.
That failed utterly and completely for GuMiho, and this is quite terrible because Rogue is just finishing Hive now. So he's not just okay, I deflected your attack and I'm barely alive. He's on a 4th base. It's gold. He's on Hive tech. He's looking fantastic.
It's a little odd. After seeing the Dusk Towers game where GuMiho still lost that Dusk Towers game, and that's unfortunate, but he played a completely different style. Maybe that's why he tried something different, was because he lost. He tried being pretty passive. He had one push of a handful of Marines without medevacs and combat shields. That didn't work out. And then he had, he was on a quick 4th base and was trying to get to a high Liberator count. This time, going for that second push looks really weird. Entirely fails, and his 4th base is a little bit later. There's a second push ready to go, I suppose, for Widow Mines, and it's still going to hit before Ultralisk are out with plating, but Rogue still has a good ground army. Certainly enough minerals and gas to work with, plus get Ultras.
By the way, I am now officially rooting for Team Liquid Mana to win the Ting Open, because he has just stated in chat that if he wins, he'll sub to BaseTradeTV.
Oh.
Maybe this is something where we should start giving away replay packs before the tournament's over, so players who are subbed to us do get an advantage.
Well, I mean, we got a lot of player subs, that's for sure.
Yeah, actually, that'd be such a scumbag move. I don't think I could ever really justify doing that, but maybe one day when we're down to 4 subs and we're just really hungry, all right, players. We need
We'll share this last cracker.
Yeah.
We need the subs.
All right, the Widow Mines got a burrow.
Mines.
But, good hits out of those Banelings. Everything going so well for Rogue this game doesn't bode well for GuMiho, because, again, let's not forget, he is on his last life. And the high ground's going to work out pretty nicely. The Widow Mines are still set up, but surprise, surprise, the counterattack actually doesn't catch him off guard. I thought he had a way less bet home.
Now he's starting to add in some Marauders. He has a second Starports, and he's probably going to try and get that Liberator count up higher, but the Corruptors are already out, so they're getting their Carapace upgrades, and so are the Ultralisk, so... Should definitely break down the rocks, as he does recognize they are breakable. Nope.
So
no, not yet.
I think it was Snoot was the first person we saw do this. It was really cool because he kind of like locked in his opponent in a ZVZ. Said fight me by knocking down the rock towers on the run. So it's worth noting there are players out there who recognize these things and check them out and study the maps. But I definitely don't think Rogue and GuMiho are sitting there like contemplating too much on how to use the rock towers. But the option's certainly there, which is cool. Now kills his own. What the fuck was that?
Reasons.
Okay, Liberator's set up. There's Ultras he's got to worry about, but of course it's not the Ultras, really. It is the Banelings that are going to probably win this game. GuMiho getting collapsed upon, trying to run to this choke, but that's not good. Picks up, goes to the high ground, just lives for another second, and he doesn't even scratch Rogue's army. Not even a tickle.
The command center, but the Corruptors are here, so they're going to start chewing away at that, potentially. Nope, going to go into bigger and better things. That's the end of the game. Going to look for Liberators to attack. Their +2 Carapace is about to finish. 2-2 is on these Ultras as well as their plating. And even though he has a couple of drops going on, GuMiho is not going to be able to return the same damage.
No, definitely not. Rogue may have been broadcasted in his best of 7 for the first time here. I wonder if it's going to be his first best of 9 as well at this rate.
I definitely think it is. GuMiho's down 100 supply plus.
GG, ladies and gentlemen. Rogue locks himself in to the grand finals, where he walks away from this tournament with a bare minimum now of $1,300. GuMiho, well, it's sad to see him go, does get $400 for his fourth place finish. So congratulations to him. But unfortunately, he is gone. And now it's time for the Foreign Hopes. Team Liquid's Snoot and Team Liquid's Mana on deck for the next game. Twitch Alerts is not making sounds for some reason, but Astraeus just subbed to the channel. Thank you so much. Let's see what number you are. You, good kind sir, are subscriber number 1,238. This number keeps going up, and I can't believe it. But yeah, GG's, congrats to Rogue. This does also mean that the finals for this tournament will be happening on a Wednesday, not Monday. Again, this is entirely to help compensate Rogue's schedule, so we will be back on the Wednesday with the grand finals guaranteed at this point. But we're not done with the day. We have a lot more to do. We got a best of 7 now between 2 of my favorite foreign players. So we're going to set up an ad break. We're going to go to Ting. I believe the last time we did, I don't remember actually. Probably rates. We'll do coverages just to be safe. Because let's be honest, your cell phone, the amount you pay for your cell phone doesn't matter if you don't have good coverage for it. And Ting has got your back on coverage, guys. Nationwide coverage as they partner with T-Mobile and Sprint. And I'll let them tell you more while we get things set up for this next best of 7. So stick around, and we'll see you guys soon.